What is up, YouTube? Eli here, Awaken the Wolf Fat Loss. A lot of people that decide to take their health and fitness seriously end up having what most people call, a switch moment. Well, here's mine. So the switch moment. Essentially, that equates to us just getting fed up with being morbidly obese or being obese. Getting fed up with all the struggles that you've had with dealing with your weight, all the insecurities, everything that comes with it. The mental fatigue, physical fatigue, all of it. You just are so fed up with it that you finally hit a trigger point where you decided that enough was enough. You're going to take it seriously. You're 100% in. All your chips are in, and you're going to put 100% of your commitment into finally taking back your health. That is essentially what a switch moment, is accumulated into. For me, it was a lifetime of being morbidly obese that led up to me getting into my switch moment. I dealt with my obesity for a long time. And I'm going to share a couple of those experiences I had, the ones that really kind of burn into my mind, with you guys so you know where I'm kind of coming from. I remember trying out for basketball, and I didn't make the cut because, I wasn't a good basketball player. I was too heavy. I wasn't fast enough. I didn't have enough control of the ball. I just didn't make the cut. And as you can imagine, being a kid, wanting to try out for something that you really enjoy, it didn't feel good being rejected like that. Rejection is never a good feeling. But the one thing that has really been like laser image into my head was when I was trying out for football. And the coaches, it was the head coach and the assistant coach, they split up the tryouts for a defensive line and offensive line, right? And I wanted to do the offensive line because I wanted to, get the ball. I wanted to do touchdowns. I wanted to do all that stuff. And so when I went over to the offensive group to try out, I immediately was completely stared at and targeted by the group, even the coach. And I was sitting there wondering why am I being singled out? And the coach straight up just asked me, "What are you trying to try out for?" And I said, I wanted to try out for fullback. The whole group just busted out laughing. The entire offensive group just busted out laughing. Even the coach busted out laughing. It was somehow ridiculous that I would ever want to do that position, that I could even achieve that position. Are you serious? That's how, this adult, I can understand the kids being assholes, but the fucking adult was laughing at me whatever, dude. So I was in a mixture of being pissed and being really sad, and I was about to cry, but I didn't. And I decided to just go over to the defensive line instead. I didn't decide to run away and not play football because I really wanted to play football, but I ended up going to the defensive line because that's where I felt I could go and be more accepted. As much as painful as that was for me, I went to the defensive line, and I ended up being starting nose guard. And I had some fun playing the football there and whatnot. And the coach wasn't really a dick to me after that, but that just burned into my mind, and I never respected him because of it. So yeah. Another thing that kind of my obesity affected me on was my decisions in trying to find a career, right? So I initially wanted to be a police officer, and I've told myself that I could go to school, study, get an associate's in applied science, law enforcement, or criminal justice, and I could end up losing the weight and get fit enough to be a police officer. Well, after a while, I ended up, my defeatist attitude ended up rearing its ugly ass head, and I convinced myself that I would never be able to do that. So I racked up student debt, and I spent all this time in school, and I have absolutely nothing to show for it. Still paying off student debt to this day. All because I couldn't just try to change my life enough to do what I wanted to do. I don't really want to be a cop anymore, but back then I felt like I had really let myself down, and I couldn't bring myself out of that hole. I dealt with, like, you know, the depression for the longest time, and I never really got any medication for it. I was too proud. I wanted to deal with it myself. I wanted to try to break out of that cycle myself, but I never really could. It was always just kind of like this coaster. I would always go up and down, up and down. I'd feel great, then I'd feel like shit. It was just a bad cycle. I would go into, you know, jobs and I wouldn't put 100% in, and I was just a self-defeatist individual. You know, I felt bad, and I know that maybe my weight wasn't all, you know, the reason for why I felt that way, but I felt like it was a really big reason. My self-esteem, my confidence was non-existent. I remember when I worked as a security officer, you know, working security involves a lot of walking around. So I would work security, and then I would walk around and I'd get really tired, and I would go back to the security office and sit down for a bit because I was tired, or I would go into these like empty spaces that we were supposed to be checking to make sure nothing was going on in them, and I would go in these empty spaces and I'd sit down in there away from everybody so nobody would know where I was, and I'd rest there too, and that affected my job performance as well. You know, you know, my obesity was really becoming a problem. And this is where it's leading to my switch moment. So I ended up, you know, getting a job at a manufacturing place, which I'm still at to this day. And the winter of 2017, 2018 was one of the worst for me because I have really bad seasonal depression. So, you know, the wintertime really sucks. And that winter was really bad. So I was calling in because I just needed days to mentally take care of myself. I was calling in because I felt physically like crap. I didn't want to work. And eventually it caught up with me, and I went to work, and I ended up getting a reprimand for attendance. And the reason why this particular reprimand was a big deal is because at that time, I had slowly worked myself up. I was making a decent amount of money, and I had, you know, bought a house and all this other stuff. I had a lot of things depending on me. I got married. There's a lot of things depending on me working here, and getting that reprimand for my attendance was scary to me. On top of the fact that I had this niggling injury on my ankle from, you know, rolling it and all that stuff, that was starting to compound, and the ankle was hurting immensely every day. And as a matter of fact, the morning that I woke up and I got the reprimand was the worst the ankle hurt, and I was actually limping around because of it. So I got the reprimand. My ankle was feeling really bad, and I just felt like I was in this deep dark hole, and I don't know what it was. Something, you know, switched, and something broke, and I decided that enough was enough. You know, this was do or die. I was 28 years old. My 20s are behind me for the most part. I need to start doing something before I let my age catch up to me to where I can't really do much about it. I didn't want to be in my 30s hobbling around. I didn't want to be in my 40s using a fucking cane. I didn't want to be in my 50s probably dead because of my obesity. So I decided that it was time. Really time. And that was really my switch moment, was when I kind of got that scare that I could lose the things I worked for because of how I allowed myself to get. So, and like I said, a lot of people have these switch moments. Something in their life happens, something big happens, they suffer an injury, loss of a loved one, something will push somebody into making the choice that they absolutely need to get their self together to really do what they need to do. And now I am almost 100 pounds lost from where I was. Started at 365, I'm now down to 268. So, and I'm almost there to 100 pounds. And when I reach 100 pounds, I'll be putting out a video detailing the steps I took to get there, and the kind of the process I took to really get myself going to where I want to go. But that's it, folks. My switch moment. If you liked the video, leave a comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I know there's a lot more to my life than the little bits I put here, but those are some of the moments that really kind of stuck out to me that have been laser etched into my brain, that have kind of shaped me with my obesity. So I hope you enjoyed it. And what are you going to do to awaken the wolf inside? Let me know.